Hello everyone and welcome to another week of Evo Sim Racing Excellence, and this week we have decided that we're going to carry on turning left again until someone decides not to, and we are at the fantastic fastest racecourse in the world, Talledega. And after a fantastic and very close qualifying session, we've ended up with Mr. Dan Slattery on pole, with Anthony Marriott in second, only 200ths of a second behind him. Just behind them we have James Hurlow with newcomer William Thomas putting it on 4th place. Paul Nicholson is on 5th place with Mark Pendlebury just behind him. Then we have Jeff and Chris, followed by Josh and Richie, Steve and Brian, and Mr. Jamie Nicholson, fresh from his return from the land of Oz, bringing up the rear. And we join the cars here as they thunder towards the Geico restart zone, sponsored by Geico. Barney waves his flag like mad and they're off. And you can see straight away there Brian trying to make the outside line work, being followed closely. Round they go into turn 2, and we can still see it's anyone's game as Paul there in the Black & Decker fancy woody car there on the inside. A jostle for position 3 wide there. Looks like we've got James Hurlow and Dan at the front, with Tuggy trying to push them along. Paul trying to make the inside line work there, is he? No, he just backs off a little bit. That leaves the outside line with Dan, followed by William. Inside line and Mr. Hurlow and Tuggy. Paul just behind them. Now looks like Tuggy's going to make a move here, is he? They thunder their way through down the back, side stretch onto the start finishy kind of turny straight thing. Anyway, back into turn 1 they go. Very nice and clean so far, no particular patterns happening, as looks like Dan's going to try and push Tuggy over a little bit, is he here? Now who's going to get impatient? Who's going to make that, trying to make another line work here? Too much like it's happening so far. Looks like Richie had a look, but no luck so far. Down they come, past the start-finish line again. Well, towards the start-finish line anyway. Looks like they're all staying very well behaved here. No one making too much of a move yet, just trying to settle into the race. Looks like Dan's going to give Tuggy a nice push though. And we can see Barney here waiting for these cars to come back round. Not quite sure how those headphones are staying on his head, but anyway, through the cars come. Jump forward a couple of laps and we see things have started to settle a little bit here, as we end up with a nice outside line forming. Looks like Dan still pushing Tuggy along. Mark just behind them, with I believe that's Jamie, and then newcomer William and Jeff trying to make the inside line work there. So Mr. Hurlow, is he going to hook up on the inside of Jeff there? No, Jeff hooks back in and just keeps his place, keeps it all status quo. Jump forward to lap 9 and we can see not much has changed really. Still trying to make that inside line work, but the combination of Dan and Tuggy there, with Mark just behind them, is pretty much unbeatable at the moment, as long as they don't try and get too greedy. Beautiful shots here as they thunder down that back straight into turn 3 and 4. And on to lap 13. Now we can see still not much has changed here, with Tuggy in the lead, Dan in second, Mark third, and William fourth. Steve there in 5th place now, just trying to keep in that line and just try and keep things steady. That inside line is just not going anywhere at the moment. Let's jump on the start finishing line cam and see if we can work out who's winning. And here they come, and yes, that person's still in the lead. Jump forward a few more laps onto lap 15 and we can see that yes, it's still the same. Not much is happening in this race. Still got your front 5 there. Jeff trying to make the inside line work, with Brian just behind him and James. Is there anything to be able to happen here? Down the back straight they come, still wobbling to and fro. Still very, very well behaved and very well civilised though. I'm not too sure where we've got these drivers from. This is not the same bunch as last week, surely. So yes, after halfway through the race, the right driver decided to have a competition caution to close things back up again. Not that it needs to be any closer, but anyway, into the Geico zone, sponsored by Geico they go. And they thunder towards the start-finish line with Tuggy in the lead. Dan there now in second place on the outside line, Mark in the inside. Now it's been pretty much single lane traffic so far, with that outside middle lane working absolutely brilliantly, and anyone on the inside line struggling to get a run. Will that change? Looks like Tuggy comes up and he takes his space there. Is Dan going to try and go around the outside? No, he just tucks him behind. Looks like he's going to carry on trying to push him along. Down the inside, Chris and Jamie come though. Here they go, still could be anyone's game at the moment, although everyone seems to be well behaved. Looks like that front four are going to be able to tuck in nicely here and just keep it going. Jump forward a couple of laps and on the start finish line here we can see a bit of argy-bargy there in the background. So that's between Mr. Hurtlow, James, Richard. It could be anyone. Let's take another look at that one. So we look back at Josh's car here, Josh's number 8, sorry. And we can see Josh gets a little bit, oh, bump, and that sends Josh flying through as he pushes Jamie into the wall. Steve there gets turned on the inside, and yeah, all sorts of chaos happened there. Just follow that from the back here from Chris's point of view. We can see that all the cars toing and throwing a little bit. James tries to make a move there on the inside, gets it a bit wrong, pushes Chris into the barrier, puts himself into the barrier, nearly takes Richie out. That then causes a chain reaction in front, and poor old Steve there gets turned and spun around. Nice recovery though, puts it back in a straight line, and off he goes. That was actually the end of the race there, so we can see Barney waving his flag. You can see there that Tuggy gets the win with Dan second, Steve third, William in fourth, and Jamie fifth. And of course, it wouldn't be a win at Talledega without some fancy donuts. You can see Barney here, the flag man, going absolutely crazy, watching Tuggy there in the top right just go absolutely mental, spin the car round and round it goes. Yes, Barney, I think he is finished. He might be finished soon. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, congratulations, Tuggy. And that then leaves us with our final results, as we have Mr. Tuggy ending up with the win by 0.058 seconds from Dan Slattery. Steve just pipping William and Jamie for third place. Behind them we have Josh, Mark, and then Jeff. Paul, James, Richie, and then Brian. And Chris brings it up only 0.7 of a second behind them. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for our second race. This time, of course, the grid is set by reverse championship order. So we have our newcomer, William Thomas, on pole with Chris Palmer in second. Behind them, we have Richie, followed by Brian and Jamie. Paul, Joshua, then Steve. Tuggy, James, Jeff, then our two championship leaders at the moment, Dan, and the guy who's in front of them, Mark. So we join the action here as they come over the start-finish line and into the Geico restart zone, sponsored by Geico. You can see here that William and here at the front, we'll have to see who comes. And they're off, powering through. You can see here Steve trying to make a jump start on Paul straight away. Goes round the outside, which he's allowed to do on a start. Hangs it around the outside. Is he just going to tuck in behind Brian here, is he? He looks that way. Paul backs off and lets him have it. Through turn 2 they come. You can see that Richie there is trying to push William at the front. And you've got the two teammates there on the left-hand side trying to push their way through. Through turn 3 they come, turn 4, wherever it is, onto the start-finish kink, bend, whatever you want to call it. And they come, and we can see that it's actually Chris Palmer in the lead with Jamie now in second. That inside line's going to get a nice run over here with William being pushed by Richie. Brian now on the outside just took it in, trying to make that 3-car wide. Steve just behind them, and Paul all decked out in his livery, still there. There will be more wood jokes, don't worry. Anyway, Chris is up and down a bit. Oh, and Brian spun. He spun, and he's off. I'm not sure if there's foul play, but I'm not sure if there's foul play there, or we'll have to see what happens. Here on the exit turn 2, so if you look just to the left-hand side, you can see that Steve just knocks Brian's inside line, turns him, and they're all through. Someone hit the barrier there as well. You can see as Brian comes off, that's Dan into the wall. Dan spins off. 2 more cars on the right-hand side, and it's just pure and utter chaos. Can't park there, mate. So unlike the first race, there are cautions, proper cautions in this race. So after sorting the cars out there, you can see Dan and Brian at the back. We've racked them up again, and off they go. So, great start there by number 12. And you can see Jeff on the outside there, trying to push. I think that's Tuggy along, so it looks like Jeff and Tuggy on the outside this time. All seem to be keeping it nice and sensible here. They're 3 wides, but they seem to be keeping out each other's ways. They tuck in nicely there along the back straight. Steve gets a great run here. Looks like the aerodynamics of Brian's 11 car just pushing back a little bit again. Brian's had a great run there from the back of the grid. Steve tucks down on the inside, and that will allow Mr. Hurlow through. So the aerodynamics in these cars are absolutely fascinating, how you can just tuck up on someone's rear quarter and it just pulls them back with you. Anyway, as they come through, we can see that Tuggy's in the lead, Jeff just behind him, Chris, Palmer and Jamie behind them. And we jump forward a few laps here to lap number 20, and we can see that we've got Tuggy in the lead with Jeff behind him again, Chris Palmer in 3rd, James Hurlow and Mr. Slattery there, William on the insides, trying to make that inside line work. Paul trying to push him along there as they roar through into turn 1. Down the back straight they come. You can see there that outside line working absolute wonders for these guys. James and Dan on the inside line now. Paul trying to make that work. I'm not sure Paul's quite close enough though to give him that aerodynamic push he needs. So it looks like that outside line is just going to carry on pulling away. Oh, and Dan's turned just to Hurlow. That's a big one. Jump on board with the offending car here. You can see he's just trying to push him along. Gets on his inside quarter and then cuts him down and spins him. And that's a bit of pain there for quite a few people. That'll give us a caution now, and that'll give everyone the chance to come in and refresh their tyres and get some more fuel on board. And I have to apologise because for once the merging wasn't done by Mr. Slattery. The number 3 car has actually been driven by William, our newcomer. So apologies there, Mr. Slattery, but it is normally you that does the merging. And as we can see here, the field bunch up behind the pace car. We're going to be able to see all the cars dive into pit lane and be able to see who's the fastest with the wheel gun, who's the fastest with the pump, who can get their car in and out the quickest. Anyway, they dive into pit lane. Focusing on Mr. Palmer here. Not sure why he's not in a good livery, but either. Down he comes into pit lane. See the cars dive to the left, and the imaginary pit crew will get to work. Down they come, they drive through each other. These cars are so flexible these days, they can go through each other. Anyway, down they come. Let's see who's going to get out of pit lane first. You can see the car gets lifted up on the left. Some left tyres there for Chris. He's going to get fueled up. He's going to get some more tyres on the right. And off he goes. Beautiful pit stop there by the imaginary pit crew. Here they are at the restart at the coming up to the Geico zone, sponsored by Geico. Mr. Hurlow there here on the inside, Mr. Sharp there on the outside. No, sorry, Tuggy there on the outside. Mr. Sharp's just behind James. And off they go, and that's a big jump there by Mark. Flies past Steve, tucks himself in and says, "I'm sorry mate, but you were napping." Anyway, Mr. Hurlow with a great run here on the outside. Tuggy just behind him with Chris pushing. They've now gone 3 wide. Is that going to leave James there a bit marooned? Steve coming up behind him. Jeff on the inside with Jamie pushing. Steve's going to make it 4 wide, is he? You don't want to be 4 wide there. Steve tucks in behind Dan as the 2 Welsh guys there on the outside push each other along. And that's left Tuggy in the lead with Chris Palmer pushing him. Just behind him is Mark. And on the inside line, we've got Jeff and Jamie and Dan and Steve. Jump forward a few more laps here onto lap 31. And we've got Jeff in the lead with Jamie just behind him. Tuggy there in third place and with Chris just behind him. The inside line starting to work here, is it though, with Dan being pushed by Steve. See here in the background, oh, there's a netcode there, but it looks like Richie's pushed Josh there into the wall. Let's take another look. Jump on board with Richie here in his front right. You can see, yeah, a bit of dodgy netcode there. Poor Josh suffers because of it, and that's Josh there going to need to pit for some repairs. Will Richie be able to keep onto the back of the pack here? Jump forward a few more laps here. We can see Steve being pushed by Dan now. That's inside line. Is it going to work? As we have Jeff at the lead with Tuggy just behind him. Mark behind him and Mr. Hurlo fourth. Chris Palmer in fifth. And Jamie's making a move here on the outside, is he? Going to attempt it. Down they come into turn one again. Looks like Steve and Dan have given up that inside line for now. Just looks like it isn't quite working yet. As they're nose to tail, front 6 cars here. Oh, Steve and Dan get very close again. Just check up there behind Jamie as they tuck all in nicely. Jump forward another lap and we've got Jeff still in the lead with Tuggy behind. Oh, you can see there that Mr. Slattery has doored William into the wall there. That one's going to hurt. He may not have murdered the car beforehand, but that one was definitely on Dan. Jump forward another couple of laps and we've got Jeff still in the lead with Tuggy behind him. Looks like that outside line might be starting to form here though with Dan starting. Oh no! There's another spin there in the background. Just start watching this slowly and we see him. Then that's Mark just gets into Mr. Hurlo, gives him a turn, says, "Here you go, mate. You take a break. I'm off." And we see James just slowly spin. And that is one stylish pit entry. Come on, turn it round. Put on the power. Not quite. Mr. Cone, Mr. Cone. Oh, he just wobbles the cone. But yeah, it's another one bites the dust. Lap 42 here, and as they come up towards the end of the race, see Dan here trying to push, I think that's Jamie along. Chris just on the inside. They go 4 wide, and he says, "Mate, I'm having none of that," and pushes him out the way. So we jump on board with the chase camera Paul here, and he said to himself, "Would you believe it? My luck is really down today," as Dan just pushed Chris out the way. Chris then takes Paul, and then these two give each other a hug as they go crying and dying into the infield. They're going to keep out the barriers. That's going to be a big hit there. Oh, wood meets wall. Wall wins. Whereas Chris here, I think that's going to do stylish 180. Going to slide it back round. But both lived to live another day. Meanwhile, back at the front of the pack here, we can see that Dan and Steve are trying to hook onto the back of Jamie here. Steve just tucks in behind, and they're going to try and get a run. So they try and pull back up to Jeff and Tuggy here. Looks like there's 6 cars that are still in it to win it. So could it be Jeff, Tuggy, Jamie, Steve, Dan, or just behind them looks like it's Mark? Down they come into turn 1. Come out of turn 2 because there are 2 turns here somehow. Looks like Jeff's going to try and make a move here around here outside as he makes the move, and looks like there's Steve's there going on in the background. Oh, he kisses the wall. Oh, he's kept it going in a straight line now. See what happened there. We sit on the gearbox of Jamie's car here just in front of Steve. You see they're all nicely in line. Then Dan comes down and says, "I want that line." Bit of netcode, pushes Steve into the wall. That's going to hurt, and off they still survive. Meanwhile, you can see at the battle of the front here, we've now got Jamie pushing Jeff. Took it just behind, and Mark there. How's this going to end up as they come roaring towards the start-finish line? Looks like Tugg is going to get a run round the outside. Jeff going to block him off? He's not. Jamie stays behind him and gives him a push. Is that going to kill Jeff's Tuggy's momentum? And through they go. Right, we have Tuggy here, tucked behind Jeff. Looks like there's 5 of them left in it for this end of the race. Looks like 2 of them into the barriers. That's not going to help. Anyway, down they come. And looks like Dan's got a fantastic runner here on the inside, as he's got no help though, so that means that's left our resident oval expert Tuggy in the lead, with Mark just behind him. Jeff in third. It's still anyone's race though as they come into the final corner. Brian there staying nicely out of the way. Down they come, single file. Who's going to make the break first? Looks like Mark has a look. He thinks better of it. Jeff has a look. He's going to dive down the inside. Is that going to give him second? Or is he going to run out of momentum? And we join back on the start-finish straight here as we can see Barney waving his white flag. Through they go. So after all of that, we have Jeff Sharp winning the race by 0.041 seconds from Mark Pendlebury. Tuggy and Jamie just behind them. The first 4 cars are separated by only 1/10 of a second. Dan Slessery only a second behind them. And a bit further back we have William finishing 6th, with Chris 7th, Steve 8th, Paul and Richie, Brian and James, and then Josh. And that leaves our league currently looking like this, with Mr. Mark Pendlebury still in the lead with his 166 points. 14 points behind him we have Jeff, and 8 points behind him we have Dan. Followed closely in a battle for 4th place with James, Anthony, Marriott and Steve, all separated by only 12 points. And the race for the rest is then on between Jamie, Axel, Joshua, Paul, Brian, Chris and William, Richard and then Chris Hulse. Thank you everyone for joining us. Next week we are at the Indianapolis Road Course, where we'll be racing the variety of GT4 cars around the famous Brickyard. See you then. Bye.